Hey everybody, well I'm here with Scott from Cancer Bats. Scott, how's it going, man?
Pretty good, you?
Awesome, man. Now, Hail Destroyer is Cancer Bats' second full-length release.
Yeah.
And let's say as opposed to the first one, Birthing the Giant, how did you approach this album differently than before?
Well, with this record, I mean, it being our second one, it was more of a concentrated effort. You know, it was the first time when we really had to sit down and write songs specifically for a record, whereas with Birthing the Giant was kind of accumulation of the songs that we had just written, like, up to that point. So it wasn't like, you know, it was like, okay, you know, we had to write a couple extra songs than what we already had, you know, whereas this, where it was like, okay, clean slate, we need to come up with, you know, 15 songs or whatever it's going to be, and then, you know, make those as best as possible and try and, you know, make them a cohesive record.
Cool.
So with this one, it was kind of more Liam, Mike, and I just concentrated writing together, and we didn't really have a bass player. So,
that's a shame.
Yeah. So it was, you know, I mean, it was just something that happened, and so we were without a bass player, and then, but it allowed us to kind of just work together really hard. And we had a practice space in Toronto where we would go there 7 days a week and practice for 10 to 12 hours a day and write and just constantly do that all the time, and it was really good. And it took a while at first because we were kind of like, you know, what do we want to do? And some of the songs we were writing at the beginning were like, this kind of sounds like our old stuff, and it just was kind of boring. We wanted something fresh. So then one day I got this custom guitar made for me by First Act.
Sweet.
And it came in the mail, and I was like super stoked. So I'm like, okay, cool, I'm gonna come try out this guitar. We hadn't really written anything up to that point, and then I literally sat down and just started playing the intro riff to Hail Destroyer, just like right there.
Sick.
And it was like, holy shit, this is cool. And then it was
Is that the guitar that's in the video for Hail Destroyer?
Exactly, the same one.
Sweet.
Yeah. And so it was just like this song came out, and we were like, holy shit, this is really like cool. This sounds, you know, a bit different. It was a little heavier, but we liked how like straightforward and punchy that kind of was. And so we sort of went for that vibe for a lot of the stuff on the record. A lot of it was just like, you know, we find some bands like will tend to go a lot softer, or, you know, maybe explore melody in a drastically different direction. And we were kind of like, well, you know, let's kind of do the opposite. Let's make a heavier record than our last one.
Sweet.
And in places where there was melody, we're like, let's keep it interesting and not really generic. And let's avoid, like, you know, things that are like really metalcore and cool at the moment, like doing screamy type stuff, you know? Because I'm just sick of hearing bands like that have done that for the last like 15 years. Like, it's just like not new to me anymore, and that stuff's really boring. So we wanted to steer clear and just kind of like make something that was like really punk, really metal, but all just kind of really heavy, and just, yeah, get really like dirty, punchy sounding record, I guess. That's kind of what we went for, yeah.
Because I've heard, I guess this expression fits, that you've kind of been writing your first record your entire life.
And then you have a month to write your second one. Yeah, no,
sure.
And that's exactly what it was. We didn't really have that much time because all we really do is go on tour. And so it was, okay, you've got this small period to write your next record. And it was like, holy shit, okay, that's why we were there 7 days a week, you know, because we wouldn't have had time to do it otherwise.
Exactly, yeah.
And in the end, it worked out really well. You know, we wrote a bunch of songs, and then we talked to a bunch of different people about doing our record, and we came down to Eric Ratz and Kenny Wong, who actually engineered our first record.
Okay.
And we decided that we would just co-produce it with them. And so we went and made some demos, and those guys were really excited about the new songs. And then so we demoed everything and changed, you know, bits and pieces here and there. And Liam tried different lyric ideas, and we would sort of work on all that together. And then so when we came into the studio, it was we were at a point where we knew the general idea of the song, yet there was still a little bit of room for creativity and spontaneous fun.
Because I've heard that you demoed all the songs before you actually went into the studio to record them.
Yeah, exactly, right? So we wanted to make sure that, you know, we had a rough idea, because I think that was the thing with Birthing the Giant. You know, it was our first full-length record. We weren't really prepared.
You had a couple EPs behind you with the...
Yeah, exactly, right? It was just, that was all just, you know, for fun. Let's just go record some songs on our own. And, you know, I mean, it's different when you have people that expect you to deliver, like a record label, you know? It's like they're putting a lot of money into you, and, you know what I mean? It's important, and you don't want to let anybody down, and especially ourselves. You know what I mean? The whole thing is a challenge. It's a creative challenge, and it's awesome. At the end of the day, when you hear the final product, you're like, holy shit, this was worth it.
Yeah.
You know, this is is great. And so you know, we really wanted to come to the table with, you know, just being really prepared and having finished songs and finished lyrics, and, you know, trying to come up, you know, sometimes I'd wing guitar solos in the studio because I just wouldn't be ready. So for a lot of the solos, I tried to avoid that and come in prepared so we weren't wasting time on just that, you know? And I don't know, I'm trying to think. I had an idea that I was going to say, but anyways, it doesn't matter. But we went in and recorded. Oh, yeah, I was going to talk about how I actually played the bass on the record.
Oh, seriously? You did all the bass parts?
Yeah, I did all the bass parts. And because we didn't have a bass player, it was just like, okay, well, Scott's going to play bass. And that's what I did. So
sweet.
At the end of the day, yeah. And so that was cool. And we got to, you know, because we came in prepared, we had extra time to focus on getting the right sound for the record. Whereas I think the first one, we were a little more rushed because of our inexperience.
Yeah.
And so we were able to go in and focus on tones and making the record sound sonically great, you know? So,
wicked, man. Yeah. Oh, one sec. I just have to give my arm a little bit of a break.
No problem.
Sorry,
I'm sure
dude.
It's a little...
Yeah, I just want to make sure so I'm not like going in and out.
And I'm all over. Yeah.
For sure. Now, the next question is about like touring and stuff, and you guys like, maybe I could try to do this. Sweet.
Cool, whatever you want, man.
Cool. Well, you guys have become a little bit famous for like staying at people's houses after a show and like chilling with fans and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I imagine that kind of puts you guys in a bit of a predicament where you meet some people that are a little bit shady. Do you have any tour stories of that?
We're pretty good, you know, with avoiding that now. Because of some experiences, we've been able to, you know, gauge if, hey, this guy looks a little shady. Maybe we shouldn't stay with him. But for the most part, people are pretty good. Because if they're nice enough to let you in their home, they're usually all right people. I mean, I find the worst scenarios come from the people that are really excited to have you over. And then... they're not thinking that, hey, we just want to go there and sleep. It's like, Cancer Bats coming over, let's fucking party. And it's like, I mean, cool, you know, sometimes that we're in the mood for that, but some nights we have a really long drive ahead of us. Or I remember like one night we stayed in Dublin, Ireland at these kids' house, and we were all like super exhausted because it was just a really long day of like taking ferries and weird. We couldn't even drive our van across the ferry because it was way too much money. We couldn't really afford it.
So what'd you guys do?
Well, we threw some of our gear on the Bronx's tour bus.
Okay.
And then we sort of walked onto the ferry and then took like trains and buses to the venue. So the next morning we had to get up really early to catch the morning ferry back where our driver was waiting for us back in England. And yeah, anyway, so I remember we rolled into this apartment. It was like a, you know, kind of nice apartment. It wasn't bad, but these kids were like really into staying up all night and wanted to, you know, talk about guitars and stuff until 5 in the morning, which is all cool, but we were exhausted and need to get up early. And so we all like went to bed. We're like in our sleeping bags or just lying down trying to sleep. But these kids are like playing Guitar Hero, like full volume, Dragon Force, and that's all you're hearing. And these like Dragon Force just blaring, and everyone's like, oh my God, you know, I mean, whatever. It's, you know, how much can we complain if somebody's giving us a place to stay? It's just, that's a funny instance, you know. I mean, there's other ones where it's literally the only place to sleep is at a party, and you have people running up and down stairs screaming at full volume, and, you know, it's...
That must get really frustrating after a while.
I mean, it does, but it's just, you know, that's the nature of the beast, and that's part of what we do, so... but... You know, I mean, that's the thing. We're cheap, so
it's good because
it's just. I mean, when you're a band on tour, you can't always afford to stay in hotels and stuff, and so we tend to try and avoid that stuff. But sometimes, you know, we'll get them just to, you know, hey, it's nice to take a shower, you know, once this week. So, if we. You know, I think the great thing, especially about touring Canada now, is we know people in every city, so we're never stuck, and we can stay with friends. And,
that's
you know,
really good.
And yeah, so
you guys
we're
have been around
fortunate.
For a few years now. So
yeah, exactly. So, you know, touring other places like Europe or the States, it's a little more difficult because there's more cities, and, you know, we're just not as familiar with everyone. But it's getting better because we've toured so much that now it's starting to become a little bit more like Canada, so we can just always stay with friends.
Which
rules, yeah.
Wicked, man. Cool. I'm going to try it from this angle now.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, I've heard a lot of bands like kind of become jaded with the style of music that they're playing. How do you keep things like exciting for yourself and fresh?
Well, I mean, I think the cool thing with our band, or what we've done, especially like on this record, is we've realized that